Alright, so we're starting out our unit on factoring. The easiest thing to do is factor out what's called the greatest common factor. So greatest common factor, we also call that the GCF for short. Alright, so what is a factor? Let's think about, factoring is like unmultiplying. Now the reason I say unmultiplying instead of dividing is this. So if I took 10 and divide it by 2, I get 5. So that's a new number, right? I don't want to think of it this way. I want to think of 10 equals 5 times 2. So these are the two factors of 10, 5 and 2. All right, if I multiply them together, I get back what I started. I get the 10. So that's what we're going to do here. If we were to distribute, that's multiplying. This is what we did last unit. And that's x squared minus 8x. Factoring, I'm going to look for the greatest common factor. So what can I divide out of an x squared and an 8x? Well, I can divide an x, or I can unmultiply or undistribute an 8x from both of them, or an x from both of them. So that gives me x is being undistributed and leaves me x squared divided by x is x, 8x divided by x is 8, so I got a negative 8 here. This is the factored form. That's what we're looking for. Alright, so here if I distribute in, I get 12h squared minus 20h. So if I want to factor, I'm going to look for what divides out of both of these. Well, I can divide a 4 into this, and I can divide an h out of both of these. That's it. So I can divide a 4h out of both, and that leaves me with a 3h, and negative 20h divided by 4h is negative 5. This is the factored form. And what you're going to want to do also is do a quick mental check and make sure it actually does work. So once you factor something, quickly redistribute in your head. Does this times this equal what I started with? Yes, it does. Does 4h times negative 5 equal negative 20h? Yes, it does. So I did it correctly. Alright, so we'll do one more. If I were to distribute this to everything, I get the 4m to the fourth. Now I'm multiplying these two, that's why I get the 4 up here. 2m squared times 3m is plus 6m cubed, and 2m squared times negative 5 is negative 10m squared. Now, looking at what can I factor out of all three of these, well, I can divide an m out of each of them. I can actually divide an m squared evenly out of all three of them. And then I can also divide a 2. That's it. They're all even numbers, so I can at least get a 2 out. So the factored form is 2m squared undistributed, and that leaves me with a 2m squared plus 3m and minus 5. That's my factored form. So this is the type of result we're looking for right here. All right, let's do a couple more examples. Now, what can I divide out of a 5a squared and a 15? Well, I can clearly divide a 5 out of each, and that's it. Since this doesn't have a variable, there's no way to divide an a out evenly. So I just divide a 5 out of each, or unmultiply, and that gives me an a squared minus 15 divided by 5 is 3. Do a quick mental check. 5 times a squared is 5a squared, and 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. All right, let's try this one. So what can I divide out of each of these? Think about it a second. Hopefully you came up with a 5 divides out of both of these, and I can divide a q out of both of those. Alright, so when I unmultiply or undistribute my 5q, it leaves me with a 2, because 10q divided by 5q is a 2. I'm dividing or unmultiplying my 5q out of that, leaves me with a 5q. So that's my final answer right here. This is what I want. Alright, and I just do my quick mental check. 5q times 2 is 10q. 5q times negative 5q is negative 25q squared. Alright, so last one. This one's got multiple variables, a bunch of numbers. They're all even, so I can at least get a 2 out. But actually, they're all divisible by 4, so I can unmultiply a 4. They all have at least the variable a, so I can unmultiply an a. I've got a b squared, a b, and there's no b here. So I can't divide that out of everything or undistribute it out of everything. So now 4a times what would give me 4a squared b squared? Well, it would have to be ab squared. 16ab divided by 4a, it's the same as thinking 4a times what gives me 16ab, and that would be 4b. And then dividing 12a by 4a gives me a 3. And then just quickly, because you guys have done lots of distributing, does this equal that? Yes. 4a times 4b is 16ab. 4a times 3 is negative 12a. So it works. All right, now I want you guys to try both of these problems, and you should have those correct answers when I see you in the morning.